Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed YouTube channel of all time. Welcome to Mr. No Days Off. I'll put my shades back on. I like the mystique of it. Welcome back to another video. While you're here, please go check out my podcast, The Prince of Fresh Air, available on Spotify. Also, check me out on Instagram at Mr. No Days Off Percy. That's right. I do what I do. But anyway, I want to do another video about background acting. That's right, background acting. So you might be wondering, what is background acting? Oh wait, interesting. What is background acting? I know a lot of people have been wondering. A lot of people have done it. I have done it. So background acting is basically the people that fill scenes in movies and TV shows. I've been able to do a couple shows like She's Gotta Have It by Spike Lee on Netflix. I've also done Tell Me a Story on CBS, and those were really good experiences. And background acting is essentially, the people, when you watch movies and TV shows, that's like at the grocery store, who play corpse on Law and Order, at concerts, people pumping and waving and stuff like that. That's what background acting is. But my personal experience is always a good time. Is also a good way to make extra money and stuff like that, and get a new experience. So that's gonna lead me to my first thing. How do you get into background acting? What is the steps to get involved? That's easy. And if you want to get involved with background, first I want to clarify this. Background is really good for up-and-coming actors, people who want to get experience on big sets, TV shows, just to see what it's like, that environment. Because it's a daunting process. It's a lot different than shooting a studio film. So that's a good experience. And then there's also a lot of people who make a career out of doing it. It pays the bills, make extra cash. And that's another reason a lot of people do it. If you do a show on rent, or you just want some extra splurging money, that's a good way to make some, quick earn, fast cash. Nothing wrong with that. It's a job to be done. So how do you get involved? What is the steps to do it? So first, in order to be a background actor, you don't need to be an actor. A lot of them don't hire actors. They usually just go based off your look. So for instance, take this good looking man for example. I would be profiled more as a punk type, a more hip and eccentric type. So you want to see me playing a businessman on Wolf of Wall Street, for instance, as a background actor. I'll be more of like the concert goer, the bouncer, the rapper per se, which is fine by me. So there's different types to background acting. You get cast based off your look and your profile. Century Casting is one of the biggest sites you can join. It's free to use, and it's free to go and join them. But the only thing is you have to go to the office, fill out paperwork and stuff like that, because being a background actor, you can't just walk on set. There's a lot of legal stuff that has to be involved, and documentation and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ground to cover about background acting. But first we do that, this video was sponsored by none other than nobody. Why? Because I'm broke and I'm poor. So, but anyway, so to join background, you join a background agency. Century Casting is one of the biggest ones in the world. You also have a couple others, especially in LA, New York. Some of them do charge a fee to upload your stuff onto their website, or for them to keep you as a client on their roster. So keep that in mind. If you're just looking for quick cash, that's probably not a good route for you, because you will have to pay a fee for that. But if you're just looking for, something quick, Century Casting is really good. Or if you're looking for some long term, Century Casting is another good one. But also the paying ones would also benefit you, because every different, I would say, agency has different, requirements and stuff like that. And some of them, because you're paying more, they're more willing to continue booking you on shows and stuff. So that's the best way to go about background acting. You can't just walk up to a set like John Wick and expect to be put in the background. Sometimes they'll pull people, depending on how low the attendance is. But yeah, that's the best way to go about it. So, on to the next one. Hey, how much you background pay and what is the job like? So background is not, you're not a leader star, but you are a major part of the scene. And just a quick story. I remember I did Ray Donovan for HBO, and I met John Voight. I'm sure everybody knows who John Voight is. He's a legendary actor. Um, and the cool thing was, we was doing an underground fight scene, so it was maybe like under 100 people, and I got to talk to him personally. Just nothing crazy, but this was a couple years ago. But I remember speaking to him about acting and stuff like that. He gave me some good advice, so it's a good network opportunity. But in terms of the pay and the job, so essentially you usually go to set between 5:30 and 7:30 in the morning. Sometimes a little later, depending on their shooting schedule. But usually it's early in the morning. So they want you there by 5:30 so you can sign in. If it's different types of movies and stuff have different feels to it. So if you're, your background for The Marvelous Maisel, that would be more of a time-centric piece. So you would be required to bring clothes, or they'll fit you in an outfit. That's another thing too. Keep in mind that you always have to pack luggage. Not luggage, but clothes and different looks. So when you come, they get to check it out and see which ones they think is more comfortable, more fitting for the gig. So be sure when you get booked for something, you read the wardrobe description, because they'll tell you the breakdown of the pay, the wardrobe, and what you're required to bring. And a little secret, sometimes you don't even need to bring clothes. That's right. Yeah, some people will bring these big old airport luggage suitcases worth of clothes, and come to find out the clothes that they got on is fine, or the casting department have wardrobe for you. So keep that in mind. Definitely check it out. Definitely reach out to the production if you can, or through the casting service. That's probably the best way to do it, through the casting service that you went through. And yeah, keep that in mind. So usually you're on set from anywhere from 9 hours to 14 hours, depending on the scene and what you're doing. So if you're doing a more elaborate scene that requires a lot of cameras and action, those tend to take longer. My experience is the longest I've went like 15 hours, and the shortest I ever went was for She Gotta Have It, and that was about 6 hours. So it just depends on what you're doing that day and how long the shoot is, because every scene is different. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And in terms of the pay, I know that everybody's been wondering what the pay is like. How much De Niro you're getting. And truth be told, different states had different pay structures. So since I'm from New York and I live in LA now, I can tell you the breakdown. So New York, the pay for non-union, and I'll break that down in a second, but non-union people who aren't in SAG, the breakdown is $143 for 10 hours of work. And then for SAG actors, people who are in the union, it's a little more high. I think it's around $225 for 8 hours, or is $175 for 8 hours. And then obviously there's pay scales and bumps depending on the different types of background you're doing, which I'll break down in the next clip. But non-union in California is a lot different. You'll get paid less. It's about 98 for 10 hours or 9 hours, something like that. And SAG is around 150 for 8 hours. So it's definitely, you'll make more money in New York than you would in LA. But I would say the difference between New York and LA is the fact that LA has a lot more things you can do background for. So you got reality TV shows, you got commercials, you have live studio audiences and stuff like that. So there's different ways to find background, whereas in New York you're pretty much tied down to the standard television and film and maybe a couple late night shows. So yeah, that's the biggest difference. in terms of pay. So expect long hours, and expect, depending how long you stay, there's also an increase in pay. So there's overtime and double overtime. And if you're a SAG actor or you're in a union, that's a lot of money. You're getting paid twice as much in the hour than you would doing non-union background. So keep that in mind. The longer you're on set, after you pass your mark. So if it's 143 over 10 for non-union, it bumps up to about roughly $25 an hour after overtime. With overtime. Non-union, on the other hand, is not non-union. SAG, on the other hand, is double that. So whatever you're getting on top of, is one, I believe it's 175 over 8, you get double. And then hour or two after, you get double that again. So essentially, you can make some good money depending on, what type of level you are. One thing I wanted to mention was, what is it like to be on set? So this difference, this different, rules and regulations to be in background. Obviously, you can't interact with the principal cast. So like the lead actors, supporting actors, daytime actors, stuff like that. The more, the people who have lines and stuff like that, you can't interact with them unless the scene calls for it. And usually, if you are asked to do that, you're bumped, and the director will personally ask you, or the casting office will tell you, okay, you're getting bumped up to a different role than you were intended to. So keep that in mind. When you're background, you're just there to fill the scene and make the scene vibrant. I don't want you to take a feel that background is terrible and is poor. It's actually a really good way to network and meet new people and stuff. But keep that in mind. It is a job. So at the end of the day, you're there to do a job, and then the actors or the people who are the star of the show are separate. So sometimes you'll be blessed with opportunities to talk to them, like I have a few times, but that's not something you go out of your way for. It'll just happen. And then also the craft services. I want to get into this. So my experience is doing background. Every studio has different requirements, but usually they separate non-union from SAG. So SAG tend to get better meals and craft services than non-union. Now, here's the kicker. Netflix is amazing with craft service. I could tell you, I can't preach enough how much of a great craft service Netflix has. I mean, it's fantastic. And they don't, they separate SAG from non-union, but you basically get the same, treatment as SAG. But the only thing is, you can't go to a SAG table. So unless you're a SAG and you have a SAG waiver, you can't go up to the table, to their side of the craft services. They will deny you, and you'll look like a fool if you keep trying. So keep that in mind. They do separate you, and it's, it is what it is. I mean, you're getting paid and you're getting free food. So I mean, you take the blessings. But yeah, that's a big thing. Craft services. Some of the bigger budgets, better food, and not always. Some of the smaller budgets have better food than other big budgets. So it just depends on the gig you're doing that day. I just want to put that in there. Jobs about background. What is the different types of background there is? So background isn't just one scale. Yes, it's kind of all thrown in the same term, but there are different levels to background. You have the standard, concert goers, or the people that's just generic, the people at the coffee shop. But they do hire people who have special skills. So, they choose you to do dancing in the background. You get paid for that. Any special skill, whether it's driving a car, riding a bike, or some type of craft that you do, and they need it for the scene, you get paid for that. So keep that in mind, that just because your background doesn't mean you can't level up in a sense. So if you have a special skill and you get hired for that, that comes with an increase in pay. Cars is usually an extra $100. Pets is usually another extra $100 too, and special skills is a different bracket. So you get paid more for having a bigger presence, I should say. So that's something to think about. If you're really good at dancing, you're really good at playing instruments, you're really good at magic. Me, try to use that to your advantage. If you can, use your skill and get casted on that, that comes with an increase in pay too, and you get more camera time. I mean, who doesn't like camera time? Obviously, you know. So there are different levels to background, and there's also stand-ins, which is not really considered background, but it kind of is. So being a stand-in means money. So being a stand-in for Chadwick Boseman, Johnny Depp, Tom Cruise, that comes with money. And stand-ins, just to break it down, is usually people who fill in the scene for the principal actor when they're not available, or they need to do a shot where his back is turned. So normally stand-ins are used for behind the scenes shots, so you won't see their face. They just mimicking their stature. So sometimes, like if you watch like Mission Impossible, and there's a scene where Tom Cruise is talking to his pal, and his back is turned, that could be a stand-in. It's just someone who's a placeholder for the principal actor if not available to film. So that's another great opportunity. If you feel like you look like somebody, try to use that to your advantage. Go apply for background acting stand-ins, because that comes with an increase in pay. You get better treatment because you are essential to the scene and they need you. Now, granted, don't get a big head. They can always drop you and find somebody else. But you get better treatment being a stand-in. You kind of get separated from everybody else a little bit. You're not like a principal actor, but they treat you with a little more respect. And that's not to say they treat background with any disrespect. But yeah, I just hooked you up with a free tip. Also, I want to clarify something too. In order, when you do background, when I said job, it is a job, but it is an amazing way if you're an actor to break into SAG, the Screen Actors Guild Union. So basically, the way how it works is, when you do background, certain types of background will allow you to become SAG eligible, and you need 3 waivers. So that means I got 1 waiver for doing. She's got to have. I did it twice in a row. I think 3 times actually. So I was able to keep going back on the set, and I got a waiver for that. So if you get 3 waivers, you become SAG eligible, and that's another way to break into SAG for a lot of actors or people who just want to join SAG to get the extra money. That's another thing too. Just keep in mind that you're gonna be coughing up like $3,000 to join, but with that comes a lot of there's a lot of perks to be had with joining a union. So keep that in mind. And lastly, pros and cons of doing background. Yes, there are pros and cons to everything in life, right? So the first pro is you get to be involved in a big movie. Imagine being an Asgardian for Thor. Imagine being one of the warriors for Black Panther. It's a cool experience. You get to meet different people. You get to feel like you're part of the scene, that you're a really important part of the scene, because you are. They need you as well. So don't treat it as like you're a slave or anything like that. Like, it's a really good way to feel empowered, to feel like you're bringing something to the scene, whether you're just running or walking by, or just standing on a corner. Like, you're a part of the scene. Embrace it. You have it there to have fun. And even though it's a job and there's a lot of rules and stuff, it is fun. It's a great opportunity to be on a big set, see what it's like, and see the behind the scenes and stuff like that. Just don't bring a camera or you would be in trouble. Um, a con. This is mostly for actors, but a con is you don't want to do background too much. Why? Because there is a sort of a stigma to background. And if you're a serious actor and you really want to get into the industry, you would need to bring more than just background skills to the table, especially when you want to meet the agent. And that's another thing. Do not put background on your resume. We've all done it at some point. It happens, just to fill in, the empty space. But eventually, as you start climbing the ranks, take it out, especially when you look for an agent. Because if you put, you were a bartender for, She's Gotta Have It, or maybe Stranger Things, and then they go find out that you were a background actor. That's, yeah. So, it is a good way to kind of see what it's like to be on the set, but background acting is not really something for actors. This is really essential. I think when you first start, it's a good way to get a feel and understand the process, and do it a few times just to see what it's like, interact with the cast and crew. That's very important, which I've done, and I've been given some good opportunities from background doing that. But definitely check it out. Get to know the cast members. Definitely get to meet other background and the crew, because a lot of the crew work on different movies and TV shows. And one of the things about, and this actually leads into a pro, is networking. And let me say this about networking. Don't force anything, because again, these big movies and TV shows aren't really looking for you to bring a mixtape, which has happened a few times, or your headshot and stuff like that. They don't really care about that. But if you work a show a couple times, you see the same person, whether it's the DP, or which is director of photography, or you meet the grip key, which is the guy that helps around, with the lights and stuff. Say hi, introduce yourself, see what it's like. Ask him if he needs help. That's very important. Networking is definitely a really good opportunity to get your face out there, which is helped me a lot, especially my early days, just meeting people, being nice, being respectful, because again, like, these people are there longer than you. Some people come at like 3 a.m, don't leave till 2 a.m the next day. So definitely go out of your way to be nice. Don't force anything. Don't put anybody in the corner like, oh, this guy's a tool bag, because I've seen it. I've seen people get thrown out. I've seen people get blacklisted, from doing dumb stuff. Trying to force their way into the industry, by being, being a leech. So definitely have boundaries, but it's a really good pro to meet new people, whether it's background actors or the cast and crew. Definitely get your face out there, and it helps when you stand out too. So another con is that it's long hours, and this is more for people who have other things going in life. But when you do background, you're pretty much signing away your day. So expect to get up at 3 a.m and probably get home after midnight most of the time. So it is long hours, and it is required that you keep that same energy throughout the day, especially if you're in a more energetic scene. You definitely need that energy to keep doing takes. It's like acting, but without lines. So you have to have energy to continue doing the same motion and stuff like that, because a lot of times in these films and stuff, they need you to repeat everything over and over and over again, because that's how they add it to the movie, and it adds realism to the shot. So one scene, one take, you're throwing your hands up, and then the next take, you're doing this real diligently, like you're tired. It takes away from the scene, and then you'll have to do it again anyway. So just keep that in mind. It is long hours, but it's fun, and that's another pro. Have fun. It is a fun opportunity. It's fun for everybody. Sometimes, depending on the weather and stuff like that, it can be a little terrible. but it's fun. They want you to feel important because you're the one who's bringing life to the scene. Even though you may not be the Robert Downey Jr. of the film, you're still bringing life to the scene, because without you, that scene wouldn't happen. That movie wouldn't happen. Imagine having Avengers without nobody else but the main cast. So keep that in mind. Like, have fun. Loosen up. Unbutton your shirt, have fun, eat the catering, which is good food. Sit back, relax, and just have fun doing the job. Because you know why? If they like you, they'll bring you back. That's right, they'll bring you back. And the more you come, the more they recognize your face, the more opportunities they might give you. And I've seen people get promoted on the spot just from from the director recognizing them, like, oh, I remember this dude. And you can get bumped up from just being a walk guy, someone walking past the store, to sit next to the principal actor, or being a bodyguard. So when they walk past you, you walk with them to the car or something like that. So have fun, loosen up, and get creative with your style, And I'll say this: the more you stand out, the easier it is to get recognized. Don't shoot the messenger. I look at me. Everybody recognizes me. When I walk down the street, whether they think they know me or not. People like to stay and look and be like, who is that? So that kind of helps. I'm just saying. But so just some final tips about background and stuff like that. Make sure when you get casted to do background for anything, always double check your wardrobe, your call time, because it always changes. And this happened to me quite a few times. So keep that in mind. One day, at night they'll say check the call sheet at, let's say, 10 p.m. and you check in and they say, okay, you're coming in at 5:30, so you have to get up. Before you leave, double check it, because sometimes they could push it up. They'll sometimes push it up. So they'll say instead of 5:30, you have to come in at 8:30, because there's different levels to background. Like I said, some people are required to come earlier because they need them in an earlier scene, and some people get moved because they got moved to a different spot, so they don't need to come early. So always double check your call times and your wardrobe, because it always changes sometimes. That's kind of redundant, always sometimes. But sometimes it changes. So definitely make sure you check it when the time they tell you, and right before you leave, or maybe a couple minutes before you leave, just to make sure that you're up to speed, everything's right, everything's good to go. Bring your identification, because you need that to enter set, which is an ID passport, any photo, so they can match your name with your voucher, so you get paid at the end of the day. Which is another thing, you also get paid at the end of the day. So when you get a voucher, they'll sign your name, they'll actually write your name down, your address and stuff like that, which is a mail check. It's not direct deposit, not PayPal, no Venmo. So don't write $3 signs, money on your thing, expecting to get a Venmo request, But it is a check, and at the end of the day, because they'll have to make sure if you stayed 10 hours, or less, you still get paid. So even if you show up to set for 2 hours, you still get paid the same amount that you would for the 10 hours. Now, if you go over, they have to calculate that, add it to your voucher. So you get paid at the end of the day. When they say that's a wrap for you too. So you just go online, they'll sign it off, and they'll calculate everything, and then expect a check within 2 to 3 weeks after filming is over for you, or for that day, I should say. Another quick thing, like I said, I mentioned this earlier, but sometimes you will get put in a good spot. And I remember, just a quick thing, I did Tell Me a Story with Billy Magnuson, and I was supposed to be behind him. He was walking past me and another guy, and he actually stopped me. We was talking for a little bit. He told me a little bit about himself. He asked me what I do, Told me I'm actor, of course, good looking one at that. But yeah, that was another, that's a good opportunity that happens. Sometimes you in the right place at the right time, and based off that French, that little chemistry we had, I got bumped up. I went from just being the guy he walked past to getting a nice little dancing spot on camera, where the camera actually went to me and I did some dance moves for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then I also got pushed to the bar, and I was called back to do a match and shot the next day. So that's a good opportunity, get money and get experience and put your face out there. So like one day, whether you do background or not, they might recognize you and say, "Hey, I remember we worked together. You were really nice." And this industry is all about reputation. So don't be a diva. Don't feel like you're Tom Cruise. Don't roll up with shades and 3 bodyguards think you're the biggest thing in town. Don't be a diva. Have fun. Be respectful. Treat everybody with respect. And that's background. It's a great opportunity. Definitely recommend everybody checking out at least one time. Make a little money and just to see what it's like to be a part of something big. Get to meet. Get to see stars in person, and just get the feel of it. And for actors, it's definitely a good way to get a sense of what it's like to be on set. And remember, even actors mess up. Robert Downey Jr. messes up. I've seen big actors mess up lines all the time. So it's also a nice way to, humble yourself and also realize, like, just because I mess up don't mean he doesn't mess up too. When you see John Voight flumming the line, you're like, oh wow, you would think he'd get it perfect. So it's a good way to, get a presence and a feel of what it's like to be on a big, budget film or something like that. So that's background. Thank you guys for tuning in to another video. Whew. That was a long one. But yeah, like I said, check me out. The Prince of Fresh Air podcast is going to be linked in the description, and also my Instagram at Mr. No Days Off. Percy, I'm always looking for new people for my podcast too. So, if you hit me up, I can probably get you on a podcast. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. Love you guys. And remember, a helping hand is a better hand. Peace.